Okay, everyone, now we are going to begin with a new chapter. First chapter we have finished last time. So we are going to start with the new one. And not in continuation, the second chapter or the third one. We are starting with the next, little bit different than the previous one because the topic, if we change, we also get more interest, right? So that's why I am starting with this different type of chapter, that is molecular basis of inheritance. Now the name itself suggests inheritance means what? We have learned some of these definitions, terminologies last year, right? So inheritance, that means what? Characters are inherited, means they are transmitted from parents to their offspring. So what is that responsible for this inheritance? So we need to learn it, and that we are going to discuss in this chapter. And the first word, that is molecular. Molecular basis means at the molecular level we are going to see, we study, and then we are going to know, we are coming to know that what is that factor or that particular material or the substance that is responsible for inheritance. Now, right now you know that the genetic material is DNA, but previously it was unknown. Those times it was considered previously that genes in the genetic material is not the DNA, but it was considered to be proteins, because proteins are large in size, they are complex molecule, and they can store information. That was what the previous geneticists or the people used to consider, that proteins are the materials which are responsible for this geneticity, or these are responsible for genetic characters. By the early 1900s, that geneticists knew that genes control the inheritance of traits which are located on the chromosome. Now everybody now knows that chemically chromosomes are mainly composed of DNA and proteins. Initially, most geneticists thought that proteins are large, complex molecules and store information needed to govern cell metabolism. Hence, it was assumed that proteins caused the variations observed within species. But later, in 1928, British medical officer Frederick Griffith performed an experiment on bacterium Streptococcus pneumoniae that causes pneumonia in humans and other mammals. Griffith used two strains or two genetic varieties of Streptococcus to find a cure for pneumonia, which was a common cause of death at that time. Now, let me tell you about, in short, before I explain this experiment, that this Griffith experiment is considered to be the very important step in the molecular biology to know and understand what is responsible for inheritance. Griffith was a medical officer, British medical officer. He was working on Streptococcus pneumoniae. In those days, pneumonia was very common, due to which there was death of the humans and uh, mammals. So while working, he found two varieties. He used two genetic varieties of Streptococcus. Streptococcus pneumoniae, which causes pneumonia, had two varieties which he used for his experiments. What are these varieties? Are considered to be two strains. Now, what are these two strains? One strain he gave the name as S strain, and the other strain he gave the name as R strain. Then, on which basis? S that represents smooth. This strain is smooth, so he gave the name as S type of strain. And what were the few more interesting characteristic feature of this type of strain was that was having capsule around itself, and that is why, because of this capsulated nature, it was encapsulated. The surface was smooth, and it was pathogenic, means it was virulent. It was responsible for causing disease. This was number one strain. Then the second strain, which he gave the name as R type of strain, is the name itself suggests that it was rough strain. Why rough? Because it was not covered by capsule. It was not capsulated. It was without capsule. So it is called as non-capsulated. So its surface was rough. That surface was rough. It was non-pathogenic. It's non-virulent. It was not causing any disease. No symptoms of pneumonia. So remember, there are three important steps to be considered to prove that DNA is the genetic material. But previously, what was the known understanding of the people were that proteins are the materials or substances. Proteins are responsible for the geneticity or for the inheritance. But by the experiments performed by different scientists, it was proved at the end that what is the genetic material. That to that point we will come to in the next step. So Griffith's experiment is considered to be the very important step in the genetics, where it helps to prove what is responsible for the inheritance. Now we'll come to the next. Now, see, try to understand here in a particular way. In short, I have shown this. You also, if possible, note it down when I am explaining so that it is going to help you to remember, because I have made it very short and precise to understand. And later, once you have a look, you can remember, recollect what we are studying. Okay. So first, he performed his experiment in 4 steps. Now, what are these 4 steps? First, I'll explain. See, first strain, that is, first step was R strain, and the experimental animal he used for this experiment was mouse. He used mice for his experiment. Now, R strain of Streptococcus pneumoniae he injected in mice, and then he observed that mice do not show any symptoms of pneumonia, and these mice survived. So this is the first. Now, second step in the experiment was, then he used S strain, which was capsulated strain. Then S strain of Streptococcus pneumoniae he injected to mice, and he observed that mice died because of pneumonia. These all mice, they showed symptoms of pneumonia. They caused uh, pneumonia was observed in those mice, and because of pneumonia, death of the mice took place that time. So this is the second step of his experiment. Then in the third step of his experiment, what he did, he used the same S strain, but what he did, that S strain he heated, so that this strain is now considered to be heat killed. Why it is heat killed? When S strain is heated, then what happens? Its nature is disturbed. That means what? Its smooth nature got converted into rough nature. That capsulated structure was removed or disturbed. Okay, so this is what called as heat killed S strain. And when he heated that S strain and then injected to the Streptococcus pneumoniae, that the strain of Streptococcus pneumoniae which is heat killed to the mice, then he observed that the mice do not show pneumonia and these mice could survive. Okay, this up to this, it's I hope you understood. It's very clear. With first two, it is totally clear that R strain that doesn't cause any pneumonia, so mice survive. S strain, which is pathogenic, virulent, causing pneumonia, death of the mice took place. Third is what? Though S strain it is used, but it is heated, so its nature of capsulated form, it got disturbed, removed, distracted, and because of that, its nature converted into R strain, which is showing the result as the mice survived. Now see, first and third step you remember, if you understand. See here, R strain result is mice survived. Third is what? Heat killed S, that also mice survived. Then what he did, he mixed these two strains, means R strain which is live strain and S strain which is heated, so that is heat killed strain. mixture of heat-killed S strain and a live R strain. He injected to mice, and then to his surprise, he observed that these mice showed pneumonia and the death of the mice took place. Then how it happened? This was very surprising. When these two strains are separately injected to the mice survived. But when the mixture of these two strains is injected to the mice, then mice died because of pneumonia. Then what could be the reason? Then he observed and he got to the conclusion that the genetic material from heat-killed S bacterium had changed the living strain R bacterium into strain S bacterium. Are you getting my point? That means if you see R strain is totally rough strain which doesn't cause pneumonia. S strain causes pneumonia, but when it is heated, it doesn't cause. But when mixture of these two is injected to the mice, mice died because of pneumonia. Then what must have happened? That S strain, which originally is capsulated and pathogenic, that is virulent, after heating, its capsulated nature was distracted, disturbed, and so that's why didn't cause pneumonia. But something must have happened with this when the mixture is of live R strain and the heat kill S strain. That means what? That heat kill S strain bacterium had changed its nature and came to its original form. That means what happened? The R strain made R strain to change to S strain. That means what? R strain got converted into S strain because it is heat killed. But R strain is live. So R strain got something from S strain, and so that S strain bacterium was showing, means that strain became virulent. And that means there is something that is the genetic material only, but he couldn't understand what exactly. He could find that there is something which is transforming. Griffith named that changing phenomena as transforming principle, but what exactly he couldn't explain. Now we'll come to the next slide where we are, I will explain you the next step in this genetics or this inheritance, where I can explain you one more experiment, and then I after this experiment and this, and then I will come to the textbook where with the help of diagrams I will explain everything again. That will be revision also. Okay. Though Griffith explained that there is something which converted R strain, which is a virulent, into S strain, that is the virulent strain. Something has been transformed, but he couldn't explain what is that transforming substance. Then, after a few years, then a group of three scientists called as Avery, MacLeod, and McCarty, they worked together and performed one experiment. Through all a series of experiments, they tried to prove that proteins are not responsible, but DNA is responsible, which is transformed. Now, what was the experiment? The series of experiments which they performed in a group, that what they did, they purified DNA, RNA, proteins, and other materials from the cell-free extract of S strain and mixed with heat-killed S strain and R cells separately to confirm which one could transform living R cells into S cells. Only DNA was able to transform harmless strain R into deadly strain S. Now I will try to explain you in the in these steps. Now I think you can see this arrow. I'm trying to explain these steps. What is the Avery, MacLeod, and McCarty's experiment? Okay, Avery, MacLeod, and McCarty, they performed a series of experiments, and with the help of the experiments, they tried to prove that transforming principle or the genetic material is DNA. Now, how they could prove? One by one, step by one. What did they first do? They separated all the contents from the S strain, because that strain was the result of the strain where, which is smooth strain. And so that's why from that strain, they separated all these substances, all these contents, that means proteins were separated, RNA separated, then DNA separated, and then what these separated materials, all the or these material and other materials also, whatever the contents of the strain, they separated first, and separately they added these proteins step by step to the all these contents were added to the mixture, because with this mixture only that transformation was observed, right, by the Griffiths experiment. So that this is remain same, that remains same, that is heat killed S strain plus R strain to this mixture. First of all, they added proteins were separated from that S strain, so that's why proteins were added, and then they didn't observe any transformation. Then in the second step, the same mixture of heat killed S strain and R strain, what they added? They added RNA. Then also they didn't observe any transformation. There was no change. Then to the third step, what did they do? They, to this mixture of heat killed S strain and R strain, they added DNA. And then they observed the transformation. Transformation was observed only when DNA was added. Whereas when proteins, RNA, and other substances were added to that mixture, there was no transformation. But when DNA was observed, they observed the transformation. So that's why I have made this in the simple way, simple form, so that you can remember only these three steps for this experiment. That is Avery, McLeod, and McCarthy's experiment. These three steps you should remember so that you will understand what exactly they did. The same Griffiths experiment was carried forward in the laboratory. First of all, they didn't use any animal. Then, so in the laboratory experiment, they use the same type of heat killed S strain and R strain. To that, proteins were added, no transformation observed. Then RNA was added, there was no transformation. But when DNA was added to that mixture, there was transformation, and that's why they concluded that DNA is responsible for transformation of this R strain, live R strain, into S strain. Okay, so that is now to prove this again, what did they do? They used the different types of enzymes. You know, enzymes are very specific to their substrate. So when protease was added, proteins are digested. RNAs work on RNA. So that is called as RNA digestive enzyme. Same way, DNase is what? That is called as DNA digestive enzyme, means what? DNA is disturbed, its function is distracted or disturbed by the addition of DNase. So to prove one more step they did, that is to this DNA, they added DNase. DNase, what is the role of DNase? DNase, what does do? It acts on DNA. So DNA digestive enzyme. DNase is nothing but DNA digestive enzyme. So the function of DNA is disturbed. Do not show any function. So in that case, then when DNase was added to this, then there was no transformation. So from this step, they could conclude that DNA only is responsible for this transformation. Okay, so this is what Avery, McLeod, and McCarthy's experiment. Now we'll come to the one more important, very important step which we can consider it as, and that is called as Hershey and Chase experiment. I'll revise again all the three experiments so that you will understand better with the help of diagram. I'm coming to the textbook. First, let me explain this part first. Okay. Now, the third and very important step which is considered in the genetics to prove the inheritance is Hershey and Chase experiment. They work together. They are biologists. They were biologists. They work together and they used bacteriophage. What is bacteriophage now? Bacteriophages means viruses which infect bacteria. They are called as bacteriophages. Okay. And you know, the structure of bacteriophage is very simple that way. So they used it. What the bacteriophage is made up of? Bacteriophage is made up of only protein coat and DNA coat. So its coat is made up of protein, and the core, the central part, is it contains DNA. So with the help of bacteriophages, they performed one experiment. Try to understand this experiment. Okay, what did they do? They used for their experiment radioactive phosphorus and radioactive sulfur. Now you know why radioactive phosphorus and radioactive sulfur. Please try to understand that if you study the structure of DNA, what the DNA is made up of? DNA is made up of nucleotides, right? What are these nucleotides? What the single nucleotide is made up of? What are the contents? Pentose sugar, deoxyribose sugar, then one of the nitrogen bases, either purine or pyrimidine out of A, T, G, C, whatever. And what is the next component? That is phosphoric acid, the form of phosphates, right? That means what? DNA contains what? Phosphorus. And protein structure, if you have learned chemical structure or chemical composition of the proteins are made up of amino acids. And in the proteins, these show presence of sulfur only. Proteins do not show the presence of phosphorus, but they show only sulfur. Whereas DNA show presence of phosphorus, but they do not show the presence of sulfur. This is the specificity of proteins and DNA which is used in their experiment. So what are the two important points considered to be in this experiment are, which Hershey and Chase performed this experiment was, first is the use of bacteriophage. That is what? Simple structure of bacteriophage, that is made up of DNA as a core central part covered by proteinaceous coat. And what is the second important thing which is used, considering the parts or the bacteriophage made up of, that proteins show the presence of only sulfur, whereas DNA show the presence of only phosphate. DNA do not show the presence of sulfur, and proteins do not show the presence of phosphorus. So important, these two important things are very, very considered to be important in this experiment. Okay. Now, what they did, some of the viruses were allowed to grow in a medium where a radioactive element was phosphorus. That means they were grown on P32 type of phosphorus. Phosphorus is of radioactive type, that is 32. And some of the viruses were allowed to grow on a medium which was containing radioactive sulfur, and that radioactive sulfur is of 35S. Okay. Now, what is observed after this growth of the viruses on these radioactive phosphorus and some of the viruses when grown on radioactive sulfur? As the nature of DNA and the proteins, they observed the radioactive DNA was observed on in the viruses where they were grown on radioactive phosphorus. That means the viruses which were growing on the medium containing radioactive phosphorus, only DNA was radioactive and the protein was normal. Whereas the viruses which were grown on radioactive sulfur, only the protein part was radioactive. That means outer coat, protein coat was radioactive, and the DNA was of normal type. So these 2 points are very important in the, considered to be a very important step in this experiment. Now, what happened then after this? These radioactive phages were allowed to infect E. coli bacteria. As you know, these phages are nothing but these viruses which infect bacteria. They are called as bacteriophages. So they used E. coli bacteria. But what type of bacteria? These E. coli bacteria were grown on the medium which was containing normal phosphorus and normal sulfur, not radioactive sulfur or phosphorus. Because we have to identify, we have to see. And what is the role of viruses or the bacteriophages? You know, they, whichever viruses, their important thing in case of viruses is whichever the organism they infect, after infection they affect the host's DNA, genetic material, and then they start replicating their own genetic material. This is the important role. So when these viruses were allowed to infect E. coli bacteria, and that E. coli bacteria was growing on the normal medium, that means the medium was containing normal phosphorus and normal sulfur. Then what happened? After the growth, they did what did they do after the growth of the bacteria? After the radioactive phages were allowed to infect E. coli bacteria grown on the medium containing normal phosphorus and sulfur. After the growth, they centrifuged. And after the centrifugation, what they observed, now you know what is centrifugation is a process where that is there is a centrifuge tube. Centrifugation tube is there. The material, the sample is taken in the tube, and with of this tube, that is the centrifuge machine is also there. This tube, centrifuge tube, is rotated within a minute. Suppose 1,000, 10,000, such type of rotations are made. There are different varieties again as per the requirement. So because of centrifugation, what happens? Whatever the sample is used for the centrifugation, the some part which is solid that remains at the bottom of the test tube, that is called as residue, and the part which is liquid, that comes above, the liquid part remains on the upper part. So this liquid is called as supernatant. The upper lower part of liquid, that is called as supernatant, and the lower part which is solid, that is called as residue. And generally this method is used for the separation. Okay, so after the centrifugation, what was observed in the residue part? That the bacteriophages, that is these bacterial cells, bacteriophages, they were showing DNA only which was radioactive type. That means the radioactive DNA was observed in the residue, that means in the after the centrifugation. So bacteriophages were showing only what? DNA of radioactive type, but the proteins, as you know, that separation has done, protein part is removed or separated, that comes in the supernatant part. And then bacteriophage which were grown on viruses, these bacteriophage which were of S35, that means what? Grown on the radioactive sulfur, their DNA was normal. That means what is, so from this it is very clearly it can be very clearly concluded that proteins from the viruses did not enter the bacteria, but DNA is responsible for this transformation. That means genetic material that is passed from viruses to bacteria is DNA and not the protein. So this step is very important. So after the centrifugation, when these bacteriophages were studied, they were showing the DNA of radioactive type, but the other type was, their DNA was normal. That means what? This radioactive DNA, where it is present, radioactive DNA only the radioactive phosphorus where they are growing. And so what is transfer, and here also this DNA is normal, so this DNA was of normal type. That means what? DNA only is transformed. So as said, these bacteria, what is the genetic material? As this is a very important thing, that when viruses infect any of the entity or the organism, they inhibit the genetic activity, or the genetic material is of that particular organism, and they start its own genetic material to start replicating. So what is the material of these viruses? That is proved with the help of this experiment. And what was that? DNA only was observed. Now after this, I will just come to the part of textbook where I can explain you the this is very important, that with the help of textbook these diagrams I will explain. Okay, I will revise, so that will be revision also. Okay, I will revise a little. So what, to prove the genetic material is DNA, we discussed 3 experiments. So these 3 experiments are considered to be very important step in the genetics, where it proves that DNA is the genetic material and not RNA. First is Griffith's experiment. Second is Avery, McLeod and McCarthy's experiment. And the third is Hershey and Chase experiment. Okay, I will revise this so that it will be more clear to you with the help of these diagrams. Now we have explained with the help of whatever the slides I showed you. But now again it will be very clear with the help of these diagrams. See, what was the Griffith's experiment? This is the rough strain, which is rough in nature, not having any capsule. Okay, when it was injected to the the mouse was alive. Then smooth strain, you can see here, smooth strain, which is having capsule around itself. When it was injected to the mouse was dead. Death of the mouse took place. That means it is virulent pathogenic strain. Now the third is what? He heated the same, that is smooth strain. So as the smooth strain was heated, nature was, this capsule form was removed. As it was heated, when this was injected to the mouse was alive. But in the next fourth step, when this mixture of heat killed smooth strain and the rough strain, that is the live strain, was injected, actually the expected result was that mouse should be alive, because the this is also showing mouse alive, this also is showing mouse alive. Then when it was mixed, the expected result was that mouse should be alive. But what happened? Death of the mouse took place. That means what? There is something which is transformed this R into S strain. This R, that is live R strain, which is non-capsulated as well as non-pathogenic or virulent, got converted into pathogenic virulent S strain. And what is that? He just used the name as transforming principle, but he couldn't find what exactly that substance or that material is. This is what Griffith's experiment. Now, what is the second experiment? The second experiment is performed by Avery, MacLeod, and McCarthy. Then, as per the experiment, the one more step was performed by them. The laboratory experiment they first performed. And what did they use? They separated all these materials from this S strain. So what were these all materials? That is, proteins were separated, then RNAs were separated, RNA was separated, then DNA was separated, and to that separated contents of the material, then they the mixture of this R and S was added. Then when DNA was added, then only they could found that there is transformation happened. That means these R strain got converted into smooth strain. And that's why, because of this transformation, that genetic material only, there was the death of the mouse. But when, if you see here, that DNA digesting enzyme was added, that means which destructs the nature of DNA, means DNA is digested by the activity of DNA's enzyme. DNAs, RNAs, protease, amylase, these are the very specific enzymes, are very specific to their substrate. So DNAs means DNA digesting enzymes, which disrupts its nature. And by the addition of DNA's enzyme, what happened? The function of the DNA was disturbed. So it did not show any transformation, and there was no transformation. The mouse remained alive. There was no death of the mouse. So from this, they concluded that DNA is only responsible, but still everyone was not ready to accept this. Then the next step performed by Hershey and Chase experiment, which very clearly proves that DNA only is responsible for inheritance of the character. Now, this is what the diagram which I will explain you. Hershey and Chase experiment. And you can see now the structure of DNA, the structure of bacteriophage. See, very simple structure of bacteriophage. You can see this hexagonal, this is head of the bacteriophage. This is the nape part, hollow structure, pipe-like structure, and this is the base plate with these, you can see these leg-like structures, these filamentous structures, these are the leg-like structures. Okay, so the main content is what? this outer covering that is made up of protein, and at the center of the head you can see the spiral structure that is the genetic material. Okay, this is the genetic material. So you can see here, this is very simple structure where this is the protein coat in this first diagram. This is the red colored structure that is the protein coat, and at the center you can see the spiral structure that is the DNA. Okay, now which is this bacterium where sulfur is labeled? Okay, sulfur is labeled means protein is this protein capsule is labeled. That means the outer covering, that is this is called as protein coat, proteinaceous coat, that is labeled. That means radioactive sulfur. Labeled sulfur means radioactive sulfur. Labeled why? Because it can be very easily identified that with the help of radioactivity. So that's why it is called as labeled sulfur. Okay, and now in the another case, here you can see the protein coat is normal, it is not labeled, it is normal, whereas this central core, you can see the spiral structure that is the genetic material. This is labeled. Labeled means what? Labeled with what? Phosphorus, because DNA contains only phosphorus. So this DNA is labeled. You can see is phosphorus labeled DNA because DNA contains only phosphorus and not the sulfur. And here proteins contain only sulfur and not the phosphorus. So that's why DNA is normal. And here the protein is labeled. Here the protein is normal and DNA is labeled. DNA can be identified. Labeled means what? It can be very easily identified with the help of this radioactivity. Okay. Then what happens when these bacteriophages are infected? These bacteria here, in case of sulfur labeled bacteria, when it infects to E. coli, what happens after the infection? This genetic material gets entry in the host cell. This is E. coli cell. Though it is having its own genetic material, after the entry of this genetic material from this bacteriophage, this viruses, it attacks the genetic material of its own and it disturbs its activity and it starts replicating its own DNA. Okay, so here you can see, and the remaining part is called as protein coat. This then afterwards is called as host DNA, because here no DNA genetic material is inserted to the bacterial cell. Same thing here also. Here when this bacteriophage, which is where is phosphorus is labeled, then this when infects E. coli, here the genetic material enters this E. coli cell, it distracts and disturbs the activity of its own cell, and then it starts its own activity. That means its own genetic material starts replicating. So this is red colored DNA you can see here, and here it is normal DNA, it is injected here in this case. Now after that, what happens? The remaining part remains as it is, that is the protein here. Labeled protein is it remains outward. Here the normal protein coat that also remains outside. In the cell, what is observed then? It's viruses or bacteriophages material, genetic material, or you can say DNA. Okay, then after the growth, what happens? This now it has its own replicating phenomena. So it starts replicating and it produces its own DNA. That means bacteriophage DNA is there present. Here also bacteriophage DNA is present. Now after the growth of this cell, then it was centrifuged. After the growth of these E. coli cell, what happened? Then what is the next step? This bacterial structure or this was centrifuged, and after the centrifuge, as I said, after the centrifugation, what happens? Solid remains at the bottom, that is called as residue, and supernatant means liquid part which remains on the top. So supernatant covers protein part, and the solid part, that bacterial cell and all everything, that's a solid part, contains the genetic that DNA. So after this centrifugation, what was observed in the cell was, here no sulfur detected in the cell. You can see here sulfur was not detected in the cell because it was normal. And here phosphorus was detected in the cell. That means what? This DNA is labeled. That means what? In both the cases, DNA only is observed in the cell. That means what? DNA only is inherited, transferred. So that means this is very important step to prove that DNA is the only genetic material. And when supernatant was checked, here supernatant showed the sulfur bacteria because it was labeled. So supernatant showed the labeled sulfur bacteria. Sorry, labeled sulfur. But here supernatant doesn't show any labeled phosphorus. So sulfur was observed. Sulfur is a part of protein. So supernatant showed that labeled sulfur. Sulfur was detected in the supernatant, and no phosphorus was observed because phosphorus is present only in DNA. So labeled part is present only in DNA. In the residual part, that means the cell part. So what is present in the cell, what is transferred in the cell is only DNA. Here also and here also. Here it is detected because it is labeled. Here it is not detected because it is not labeled. But what is detected in the supernatant was sulfur as protein coat. So protein coat is made up of, it shows the presence of sulfur, and DNA shows the presence of phosphorus. So what is passed from cell to cell or that virus to bacterium is what? Genetic material is DNA. So DNA only is labeled, right? So from these experiment, it is proved that genetic material is which is transferred is only DNA and not the protein. I hope you have understood with the help of these three experiments. Please learn these experiments. Griffith's experiment for 4 marks. Most of the times it is X. Sometimes every macroid is used asked for 2 marks. And this Chase experiment also can be asked for 3 or 4 marks. The structure of bacteriophage is also very important. Though not separately asked, you should know the structure because with the help of this structure only we are studying this experiment. So this is very, very important. Now I will not continue the same right now because it takes a little bit more time. So now this time from this chapter you learn only these three experiments. What are these three experiments? First is Griffith's experiment, its results. Abri McCarthy's experiment, its results. And Hershey-Chase experiments, its results. So right now you learn only these three parts. And what is the conclusion of these three experiments? The conclusion of these three experiments is that which are considered to be very important steps in the molecular biology, that is genes are means genetic material is DNA and not proteins. This is very important, and until and unless it is proved, then now further part genetic material as DNA, its structure, its replication, and all the details we will continue in the next chapter. Right now only these three experiments you learn from this chapter. You revise it at home, and if you have not understood anything right now also, you can keep it in the chat box, or you can ask me next time. Now we'll come to the last chapter where the questions were remaining. I will come to that part, that is from this chapter few questions of the last part were remaining. I will come to that particular part. That question bank you can see here. I will explain all these questions. See, whatever the last part of the last chapter was, few questions I have made as for your revision or for your studies, that under question bank. First is, how is the process of pollination different from fertilization? See, both the steps are very much important in the process of reproduction. And you should know what is pollination, what is fertilization, and both the things are very important. You should know all the steps involved in it. Sexual reproduction in angiospermic plants. All the events involved you should mention. Starting from with the male gametophyte, female gametophyte, and all that you should write down the events. Name the methods of vegetative propagation in following plants. For example, rose, sugarcane, bougainvillea, money plant, strawberry. So you should know what type of vegetative reproduction takes place in these plants. What are parthenocarpic fruits? Give one example of natural parthenocarpic fruit. Very simple. What is polyembryony? Give two examples. Define dormancy, and apomixis. Then remember, these 2 points are very important for definition. These terminologies are commonly used. Asked, what is double fertilization in angiosperms? See the weightage. If it is asked just for 2 marks or 1 mark, then you have to write just definition. But if it is asked for more than that, then you have to explain in detail. Describe the development of embryo sac in angiosperms. Listen here, this is very important. Read the question carefully. Embryo sac is asked. Embryo development is not asked. Embryo sac development is asked. So listen very carefully. You should read the question. Explain the development of endosperm in angiosperms and write a note on its types. This is very important. All the 3 types you should mention. Remember the example of each one. Describe the development of embryo in angiosperms with the help of suitable diagrams. This is very commonly asked question. List the significance of double fertilization. Remember, enlist post-fertilization changes in angiosperms. Give the functions of different parts of angiospermic ovule. This is very important. You should know the functions of each part of the angiospermic ovule. Okay, so now I will conclude today's session, and I will stop my presentation also, so that I will stop my presentation. Before that, if you have any doubts, you can put in the chat box, or next time you can ask me. I will hand over